Today I wanted to make a video talking about the most boring personalities in MMA, or I mean the UFC in general. These are fighters who come off like NPCs, or they just have nothing to say, or they're just plain boring. Some of these fighters even have amazing styles in the octagon while others don't. But either way, even if some of these fighters have personalities that are dull enough to make it to this list, I'm still a fan of a few of them. Just to be clear, this is a list that isn't in any particular order. I'm just calling out names and sharing how boring they can be on the mic. But with that being said, let's get into it. So I'm gonna start off with a hot controversial one, and I'm just gonna be plain honest. Let's start with Sean O'Malley. This guy is phenomenal on the feet, but when it comes to the mic, he's boring as hell. No easy way to say it. You think with all the flashy look and the fashion sense, he'd be entertaining, but that's not the case at all. I'm not hating. He's very chill, in fact. The dude just doesn't bring much energy or charisma outside of the cage. For instance, after his fight at UFC 299, where he put on a striking clinic on Marlon Vera, his post-fight interview was extremely underwhelming. Instead of capitalizing on the moment with some memorable quotes or hyping up his future plans, O'Malley delivered a flat, monotone response that lacked the excitement you expect from someone with his type of persona. And he's not a good trash talker either. The dude has been folded by freaking Peter Yan and Sean Strickland. But look, even though he's not entertaining, even with his weird relationship with his girlfriend, the dude is entertaining in the octagon. And if you ask me, that's all that counts. But that's why overall I have to put him on this list. Next on the list is Bo Nickel. And look, I appreciate his ambition. He's aiming for big fights and has potential to be a major draw for the promotion, especially with his insane wrestling credentials. That's all well and good, but honestly, this guy is pretty boring when it comes to interviews. He often sounds robotic if you ask me. Like he's going through like the motions. I've watched a few of his interviews and I can barely get through like more than a couple of minutes. Bo spends a lot of time talking about his college wrestling accomplishments, which while impressive can get repetitive. And sure, it's nice that he's into hiking and stuff, but he doesn't really talk about anything that grabs your attention. I think he's more often focused on critiquing the wrestling of guys like Hamza and Dricus du Plessis rather than sharing anything new or exciting about himself. The thing is, Bo hasn't fought or done anything particularly groundbreaking in MMA yet, so all of this talk comes off a bit dull if you ask me. Overall, Bo Nickel's interviews just don't have the same spark that make you want to keep watching, which is a shame given how much potential this kid does have in the sport, but that's why he's on this list. So up next, we have Grant Dawson, and honestly, this guy is just boring to watch and even more boring to listen to in interviews. If you look at his interview views, they're typically range between 600 to 2K, and there are a couple of reasons for that. First, he kind of looks like a fighter who belongs in the PFL rather than the UFC, and the second, he just straight up is boring. He's very straightforward and rarely has anything interesting or unique to say. He's arguably the most boring guy on the list if you ask me, and if there was a tier list in this video instead of a list, he would definitely be on the S tier for boring. He even has the vibe of a generic career mode character in a video game, just lacking in personality and anything that stands out. That's why Grant Dawson is nobody's favorite fighter, and that's why overall he is on the list. Next person we have on the list is Neil Magny. Now this guy is super chill, no doubt about it, but he doesn't exactly light up the room with all he has to say. Honestly, he's kind of like an NPC in a video game, always there, always reliable, but not exactly the most thrilling dialogue. And trust me, if you can sit through a Neil Magny interview without drifting off, you're a true hardcore MMA fan. Man, the fact that you can listen to this dude talk all day is mastering the art of meditation. I mean, I can't do it. That being said, he's a good fighter, even if he doesn't bring fireworks on the mic. So up next on the list, we have Jared Cannonier. Man, this dude is so bland as vanilla ice cream. Sure, he's got that interesting bit about, being into crystals, but besides that quirky fact, the guy has zero energy in his voice. He's another one of those fighters who bring no excitement when he speaks or during interviews. Just a chill, laid-back dude, and that's why he's in his 40s, so he's probably just meditating all the time, but whatever. Honestly, listening to him talk is like getting a bedtime story from your grandpa. Calm, soothing, and guaranteed to put you to sleep, even if you're not careful. But hey, at least he's consistent. Another fighter we have on the list is Dominic Reyes. Now, personally, I like Dominic Reyes, but this dude used to be, always saying that I'm Dominic Reyes, I'm an athlete. Lately, he hasn't been saying it as much, probably because he's been on a rough losing streak. He recently got a win, and now he's about to fight Anthony Smith. And I'm telling you, he's going to smoke him, and then we're going to hear it again. I'm back. I'm Dominic Reyes. I'm an athlete. It's like his catchphrase or something, and he's itching to bring it back up. Up next, we have Magomed Ankalaev. Honestly, his fighting style can be pretty semi-boring or maybe just downright dull, depending on who you ask. But let's talk about his personality. What is it exactly? Does anyone actually watch Magomed Ankalaev's interviews? Usually, Dagestani fighters bring some fun to the table, like Khabib or Islam, with their charisma and their stories. But this guy, he's just like an NPC in a video game, just repeating, I want to be the champion, over and over. It's like he's stuck on the same quest line every time he speaks. I mean, what else does he do besides train 24/7 and talk about titles? Maybe that's why the UFC doesn't want him to be the champion, because if he does, he might just blend into the background. Next up on the list is Alexander Rakic. I've got to be honest with you guys, I haven't heard many of his interviews except the one when he was beefing with Yuri Prohaska. The dude seems like he never talks much, or if he does, it's so rare that it's easy to forget. I don't know what he's into and what his hobbies are, or really anything about him, than the fact that he's a top fighter with some solid wins under his belt. From the few things I've heard from him speak, he doesn't exactly light up the room. He's pretty slow, monotone when he talks, which isn't doing him any favors in the entertainment department. Honestly, he looks kind of like an NPC in one of those UFC video games. Moving on, we have Alexander Pantoja. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually like the guy, and his fighting style is seriously entertaining, but when it comes to interviews, I just can't bring myself to tune in. And it's not because he's a flyweight or anything. That's not the issue at all. It's more about how he speaks. He's got this soft and almost monotone voice. While it probably helps him stay calm under pressure, it doesn't exactly make him the most exciting. He's still super focused on whatever's in front of him, which means he rarely goes off topic or shows different sides of his personality. Honestly, you might catch yourself zoning out during one of his interviews, wondering if you're listening to a fighter or just some other meditation coach or something. Plus, his English isn't the strongest, so there's a bit of a language barrier that sometimes holds him back from fully expressing himself. And as much as I respect him, Pantoja's interviews are more likely to put you into sleep than keep you on the edge of your seat. Up next on the list is Kelvin Gastelum. Now, don't get me wrong, he's got more of a personality than some of these other fighters on this list, but I just can't stand listening to him talk. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but every time I hear him talk in an interview, it feels like he's trying way too hard to be entertaining. You know, that one friend who's always trying to act cool, but it just comes off as being forced. That's the kind of vibe I get from Kelvin. But even with that said, his fighting style is entertaining as hell, and I'm a fan when he's in the octagon. And those are the fighters that I personally find the most boring when it comes to the mic. But what do you guys think? Did I miss anyone that should have been on the list? And if I did, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.